Bonjour relatives, Shangwewe Kamigo Coin Indigenous. Welcome to Emotional Sobriety. I'm just getting us started so that we can start our time together today in a good way. That's for you. Bonjour, Shangwewe Kamigo Coin Indigenous. Arawa Saga Ikening Ndonjaba Magazine Ndorum. I'm Jamie Kellicott with HIR Wellness Institute, and I'm our Community Engagement and Indigenous Affairs Director. And I am here with two other wonderful, beautiful souls. And I'm going to pass it on to Xavier to introduce himself.
Hello, relatives. Once again, my name is Xavier Smart. I am a CARES counselor here at HIR Wellness. So happy to be here with you all for another Friday, for another emotional sobriety live as we just reflect and just talk about some important things, right, and come together. So thank you all for being here. Those of you that are here, those of you that are watching this later, we appreciate you all. And I will pass it to John.
Hi relatives, my name is John. I am a social work intern at the HIR Wellness Institute. Super happy to be here this evening and for every single emotional sobriety. And we hope that you guys enjoy and learn something today with us. And again, this is a journey not only for you, but we're also learning along the way. So, you know, it's just for everyone. Everyone can benefit from this.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Miigwech. Thank you both. Thank you both for introducing yourself and welcoming our relatives into this space. Every Friday, relatives, we meet together for emotional sobriety. And so this is our healing circle. This is our time to come together and talk about recovery, talk about self-care, share with one another, spend a few moments of our day at the end of the week when we're wrapping up our week and getting ready for the weekend, just spending some time together, healing with one another. And we always like to start with our smudge. And then we also read a meditation out of Meditations with Native American Elders. And today is December 4th. Can you believe it? We are into December. I am wondering where the time went. That's what's happening.
Absolutely, I agree.
It's December 4th. So here's what our meditation says for today. In the end, I tell my children, there's no way I can tell you how to be an Okoma, how to be an Indian. You have to experience it. Stanley, that's a quote by Stanley Patiamo, Okoma Pueblo. Each person must make their own journey. It is like every human is given a life canoe. The canoe has one seat and one paddle. In order to get anything out of life, we must be in the canoe and we must paddle down the river of life. Now I can share with you how my journey has been, but I cannot paddle your canoe. You must paddle your own. Good luck. Creator, I'm so glad I have you to guide my path. And that is our meditation for today. We all have our own canoe for life. How's that sitting with you? Relatives, if you want to share anything, post a comment. John is our moderator. John will respond to you, and John will also let us know when there's comments made. What sits with you with that meditation? Anything at all? And I would open it up to our facilitators here, Xavier and John. What do you think about when you heard that meditation today?
For me, I read this earlier today, and I was like, oh man, this is, uh, I love it. I think what I'm sitting with, is just this idea of, I can share with you how my journey has been, but I cannot paddle your canoe.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's just so important to remember, right? That we can, just share stories with one another to help each other grow and help each other just gain insight, right? Because we all experience life so differently, at
Mm-hmm.
our own pace, at our own movement. Um, but ultimately, we can't paddle, someone else's canoe for them, right? They have to
Right.
be willing and open to paddling at their own pace, paddling when they're ready. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's just so important to sit with that, so important to remember, right? Especially when we're in relationships with one another, we may get frustrated with other people on like why they're not doing things, or why they're not taking your advice or anything like that. And it's like we have to understand that, hey, we're all moving at our own pace, right? And you can share and give your experiences, but ultimately we just have to trust and just be there for others, and let them, paddle at their own pace. So that's what's sitting with me.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for bringing that into the space.
Yeah, and for me, I actually love it too. And like everything, like what Xavier has been talking about, is so true that everyone is on their own journey and stuff like that. And it's so important to learn to not compare yourself to other people's journey as well. Just because I
Mm-hmm.
know that sometimes when you see other people on their journey, you're just like, why am I not there? Or how are they
Mm-hmm.
doing that? And sometimes, you just have to understand that your experience is completely different than the next person's experience. And learning to not compare yourself and compete because you're living your life and your journey has been completely different. Your upbringing has shaped you differently versus the
Yeah,
next person. So it's so important to focus on your journey and also taking in people's advice as needed, but knowing that you're in control of how you want your experience to be.
absolutely. Yep, absolutely. Thank you, John. Thanks
Mm-hmm.
for bringing that into this space. Um, what I was thinking about, because I read it earlier too. I was looking at it, and sometimes I like to read them like in the morning, and then I'll go back to it maybe later on.
Yeah.
I sort of like the different parts of the day just to see if my mind changed at all, or if anything different, if I'm catching something different. And then it's interesting to hear it read again, and then to hear your perspectives on everything. And what's sitting with me right now with this meditation is how we all have a purpose, that there's purpose for our spirit. And like sometimes with the meditations that we read, especially for this one, I'm it's like connecting it to that literal moment of creation, how we were all created, and that there was a specific and special purpose for us that's already been gifted to us. And that what ends up happening along our journey is that part of our job is to figure out what is our purpose. What were we put here? Well, why are we here? And that no one else can really tell us that. It's not like there's somebody out there that's going to say, and this is what your purpose is. At least that hasn't been my experience. My experience has been where I needed to figure it out on my own. I might have had some guidance along the way, actually a lot of guidance by a lot of different sources and support, but ultimately I have to follow my spirit. And what does it say? What's it telling me? And so I thought that was, I love I love the stories that are sort of intertwined inside of the meditations. You know, for us as Indigenous people, we really need story. We connect to that. We connect to story. And I would argue that all of us, all of our communities connect to story. And so I can imagine someone talking to their child and then talking about this canoe and seeing the canoe and seeing yourself in it and knowing that this is your journey and you're gonna paddle it. And I might be maybe back here like yelling some things to you like, go, you got this. Maybe go to the left a little bit and maybe to the right. But that we individually have to be the ones that do the work, right? We have to be the ones that are showing up and kind of digging into ourselves to find out, yeah, what is my purpose? What's making me happy? What's my calling? You know, because all of us have gifts. And even when we have made choices that maybe weren't great, and maybe we went down paths that were scary or harmful, we still have those gifts. We still have purpose. It never goes away, ever. Never goes away. It's always there. And so, yeah, that was just a really great reminder. Because you know what I've seen in different parts of my life and at different ages is that there comes a time where we start to question it. We start to question, like, why am I here? What is my purpose? Does it even matter? I don't know. You know, there's different moments in life. And when we're walking in recovery, and even if we're not, we can sometimes start to question that and think like, yeah, I don't even know if there's a good reason for my being here. Why do I gotta be the one to work my canoe all the time? I don't wanna. I want somebody else to do it. But that's a good reminder. We need to hear those reminders that ultimately it is up to us. And we need that reminder that we got this.
Yes.
We've got this. We were already blessed and gifted with something really beautiful and special. So that's where I'm sitting with the meditation today.
Thanks for sharing that. That was beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, Xavier. Thank you. And relatives, as we talk today for emotional sobriety, and if you're feeling comfortable, please let us know what's going on. How you feeling? Did you sit with us last week? Do you remember anything we talked about? Remember we were talking about journaling, talked about some really awesome ways that we can get some of those emotions and feelings out. Right now, we're in the middle of COVID and it gets rough some days. Some days it gets rough for us. Even us as the facilitators, we're human. We have our days, every single one of us. And then what do? We look in our toolbox and go, what can I pull out today? What can I pull out in this moment that's going to help me through? And so part of what we're going to start talking about now is how do we create safety? And I wanted to mention that the fact that we are here together in this circle, this is us creating safety with one another. We're creating it. Us together showing up every Friday is CAM, Community Activated Medicine. The people are the medicine. We inform to activate. CAM. That is a term that was coined and developed by CEO and founder Leah Denny. She's an amazing, beautiful, resilient, smart, funny, kind, loving. Oh, we could go on. We could sit here literally for hours and give Ms. Leah all kinds of accolades. And that's where that comes from, her heart and her spirit and her vision, her prayers. can. And every time we show up together, that's what we're doing. So that's pretty awesome, pretty beautiful, amazing. And I'm looking forward to hearing what we got to say today about safety. And we have a workbook that we do work out of. It's one of the things that we use, one of our tools that we use is this maintaining emotional sobriety during COVID-19. This workbook was written by Tian Dayton. And sometime in the winter, we would like to have an emotional sobriety support group, a private support group. This is our Facebook Live so that we can all come together and everybody can experience a little bit of our group, our healing circle. But we also would like to have a private support group. And this is what that private support group would kind of look like. We would be here on Zoom. It would be the three of us as facilitators. And then it would be you relatives. But then in that private Zoom support group, we'd be able to see one another and talk to one another instead of just using the chat or the comment section for how we communicate with each other. And when we have that private Zoom, we'll be doing the same things. We're going to use the workbook. We're going to have different activities to talk about each week. We'll share with one another. How's it been going? What's been working for us? What hasn't been working? So today, who would like to start our reading? Do we have any volunteers?
Yep, I can read it.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you, John.
Yep. So creating safety. It's very important to be proactive and institute the kinds of buffering basics into your day that keep you resourced for some reason. Okay, that reduce stress and build resilience. The supports that you put in place now can serve as safeguards to alleviate or lessen some of the unusual stress that could become cumulative. Setting up a schedule, a support network, and recovering a sense of safety, personal space, and quiet can help you avoid falling into the kinds of problems that could worsen over time. Here are some practical ways to do that. So the first one says, put a mental boundary around this period. Understand that this will not go on forever. Even though there is uncertainty, there will be a beginning, middle, and an end to the COVID-19 crisis.
Let's hold on for right there for just a second, John. So I think it would be good for us. Let's just talk about what does that really mean? What does it really mean for our relatives? Put a mental boundary around this period. So what does that mean? Like any one of us, what do we think that means? How can we give some more examples?
So I think for me, it's just having hope and knowing that, this isn't going to be forever. Because I know for some people, they have lost hope or feel hopeless or uncertain about when is the end of COVID.
Yeah.
So for me, it's just putting a mental boundary and understanding that, this is just temporary and that it's not going to be for the rest of your life or for the rest of everyone's life, and that it's just a short period. But then it also allows us the opportunity to do other things that we couldn't do before, didn't have time to do before. So just learning to turn that negative mindset into something positive and seeing the light of the moment.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And I think for some people who are visual, to be able to just take a moment to maybe close your eyes and think about whatever that is that's really stressful in the moment, that isn't going to last forever, because there's many things that bother us throughout the day, or could, right, bother us throughout the day, that are stressful, but they're not going to be there forever. They're not going to always have a hold. COVID's not always going to have a hold. If I'm feeling anxious, I'm not always going to feel anxious. There's things I could do. So if I could visualize that, whatever, maybe put a picture to whatever that stress is. If it's COVID, if that's the stress, maybe the image, the image that's been out there of like that weird little scientific looking, whatever that is, I don't know how to explain it. Is it a molecule? I'm not sure. That virus looking thing.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. So if we visualize that virus looking image, and then we, in our mind, draw a box around it, like, oh, it started here, and I'm in the box, and there's a middle, and now we're getting maybe close to the end, but there is an end. Like, it's not going to be forever. Or the image of a period, like dropping a period here, because at some point it's going to stop.
Mhm.
Some people are visual and need to see, just imagine that, or see it, even draw it out. You could do that.
Yeah. Yeah, that was helpful, the visual. I'm a visual person, so I saw all of it. I saw all of it.
There's like a movie going on.
It was super helpful. I think for me, what's coming up as putting a mental boundary around this period is about allowing ourselves to just be in the present moment, right? Because there is so much uncertainty with COVID, and we don't know how long this is gonna last. We don't know what's next, what's happening. So how can we orient ourselves to accepting that, right? Accepting the uncertainty, and also with that, just being able to say, okay, we accept and know that we don't know what's going to happen. But right here today, right now, let me stop. Let me pause. Let me look around. Okay, my kids are over there. They're laughing. They're happy. If you don't have kids, you have pets. They're, happy. They're wagging their tails. They're jumping on your laptop, right? So it's just about being able to take moments to pause. If we're not able to, completely stop, right? Because everything shifted and we're working from home, doing school from home, right? How can we find moments to just pause? If that's sneaking away, locking ourselves in the bathroom from the kids, from husband, wife, whoever that may be, right? Taking moments to just kind of say, okay, I'm going to pause, look at myself in the mirror and say, hey, it's okay. And allow ourselves just to breathe in that moment. So I think for me, that's what came up when, reading a mental boundary around this period, because I myself I've had to do that as well, right? Not being able to see family, being from Florida makes it hard enough, right? I don't see family very often. And then you add COVID and it's like, well, am I ever going to get to see them again? Right. So I have to, for myself, take moments of like, okay, I miss my mom. I miss my dad. Let's send him a text. Let's send him a call. Let's FaceTime my brother, right? And spend those moments and bring myself back to those moments, right? And say like, okay, there's ways that I can connect and be with them in that way. So yeah, that's what came up for me in terms of that mental boundary, being able to just hit the pause button for a minute.
Yeah, those are all excellent points. Thank you both for sharing that. John, I just want to take a moment. Are there any comments? Because we can't see what the comments are, if there are any.
So Gwen Carl just commented. She said that when COVID ends, will these online groups still be available? I wasn't sure.
Oh, good question. Yeah. So we are going to have a hybrid a hybrid option always. And so virtual is not going anywhere. So even when we are together physically again, we're still going to be offering virtual services and virtual programming just like this. So yeah, we have learned through COVID that virtual is a necessity for some people, right? Because not all of us live in the same area. We have a lot of relatives who are looking for services who are in all sorts of different areas that are not near us and potentially couldn't be with us physically even if we were not in the pandemic. So to make a long response short, yes, we'll still be doing this.
Fantastic. That's great news.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. Thank you for asking that. That is a really great question. And
Absolutely.
you know, for the time being, we're just going to continue rolling. We're going to continue rolling. That's what we're going to do. And you know what I would love? I love it when our relatives can hear all of our voices. Xavier, can you read the next section?
Absolutely. Okay, so create a sense of safety in your home. You need a safe haven, a pleasant and orderly world, a predictable schedule for your days. Make your life at home as pleasant as possible in whatever ways are meaningful to you. Have an orderly, comfortable workspace. Create reassuring routines and daily rituals. Maintain order in your personal world. It counters the feeling of helplessness to take charge of your environment.
I love that. Okay, I have to, if you don't mind, I have something that I want to share. Okay. So what comes to mind is something that I've been working on and thinking about a lot is having balance. So I think of the medicine wheel, and I think of how no matter what room, let's say we are in our home, since we are all staying at home a lot, you want to have balance in all of those spaces. And so whether that means, and it could be something really small, but like if we, because individually, we all have our own way to bring balance to ourselves. We all have our own medicine wheel. We all have different areas of our medicine wheel that mean something to us. And so I'm thinking about, is there a way to bring each of your spaces into balance? So to give an example, for myself, my spirituality is important. Nature is important to me. My family is important to me. And I would say that my life work is also important to me. So those are like kind of four areas of my medicine wheel. So how can I, in my space, have a little bit of each of those things always surrounding me so that I'm always finding balance within that space? So that's kind of what comes up for me. I don't know. What do you guys think?
That's awesome. That's a cool way to kind of think about it. What came up for me, or what stood out for me, is the aspect of creating a safe haven, a pleasant and orderly world, a predictable schedule for your days. That sentence, the predictable schedule, I think is oh man, super important. Because COVID has really just threw us all for a loop, like a big curveball, right? Like we all struck out. And we're just like, what are we doing? Where are we? Who am I? I have no idea. So I think that, being able to develop somehow, some way, right? A predictable schedule, this aspect of predictability can really help to ground us when we think about, struggling with substance misuse, struggling with complex trauma, anything that we've experienced, right? Our bodies, we're in flight or flight mode, right? And there's no,
Right.
it doesn't, we don't have a sense of predictability can really just bring us back within, right? It can really kind of help ground us, help us feel that, okay, I have something to look forward to. Every day at this time, I am gonna cook dinner with my family. Every day at this time, I'm gonna wake up and I'm gonna have a cup of coffee, right? So just really being able to create a predictable schedule, and you can have fun with it, right? Invite the kids, make it a big fun thing, where
Mhm.
you draw out a calendar and get some stickers and stars and stuff like that, right? And make it fun, so it's like, again, it really helps us to create this mental boundary, again, with what's going on, right? Because that brings us back to the present moment, like, okay, now that we're experiencing this, what can we do to help ground us in this moment? And also, due to our virtual world, I am going to grab my charger from my laptop because it's dying. So
Okay.
I will be back.
Okay. Thank you, Xavier. Thank you for sharing all that. What is sitting with you, John, with that section?
Yeah, I completely agree with like what Xavier was talking about having that routine. It's so important, especially with COVID just disrupting everyone's routine and your schedule, and everyone having to learning to adapt and how to work from home now and stuff like that. So for me, I'm a huge routine person, and for me, when COVID hit, messed up my routine. So for me, I'm huge on utilizing like a whiteboard or calendar. Um, so learning to do that and really creating that structure, it gave me the opportunity to recreate my structure. Taking that time to create that structure is so important. And also
Yeah.
allowing time in between those structure for moments where you might need 15 minutes to yourself in between everything else that you're doing, um, is so important for me to kind of just ground myself back and kind of take a moment for myself during the day. And it's so important to have those moments where you're creating small moments for yourself throughout the day, especially during this pandemic where you feel like you're trapped, you can't go anywhere, you're limited on your interactions and stuff like that. So creating that sense of safety for me, even in the home, is just taking 15 minutes or 5 minutes of guided meditation, deep breathing, all of that really helps.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, John. That's great. Do we have any new comments?
I don't see any so far.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That sounds good. I'm going to read the next section that we have here. It's called Stay Connected and Resourced. We have ways of remaining connected to those we love that are unprecedented. We can email, text, and FaceTime those we love. We can share pictures and films of how and what we're doing. We can FaceTime and actually see and visit each other in real time. We can work, do group therapy, and gather informally on Zoom. Though we're isolating physically, we can stay connected emotionally and often professionally. Grant H. Brenner writes in a recent issue of Psychology Today that social media may actually be increasing our ability to tolerate uncertainty and isolation, thus facilitating post-traumatic growth. And in any case, we can surmise that it can help to ameliorate pre-trauma symptoms. And we already kind of talked a little bit about this, talked a little bit about how, yeah, there are a lot of ways that we can still stay connected. And we can't lose sight of that. And we don't want to lose sight of that, yeah, it is hard. And absolutely, we honor that. We honor that it is a difficult time, and honor that if we are having a hard time not being able to see our friends and family, yes, yes, we can sit with that for a little bit. But let's not stay there. Let's not stay there, because we do have a lot of options. There's options. We can make a phone call. You know what I've been thinking a lot about is just the act of writing a letter or sending a card to somebody in the mail. That was a way of communicating at one time, that there was so much anticipation and joy that was connected to writing a letter to a best friend or a pen pal or a cousin across the state. I can remember sitting as a kid, and I had a couple cousins that I would write to, and we would send letters back and forth, and then we'd like take pictures with our little camera, and we'd go and get them developed, and then we'd send a picture to each other, you know. And it was like, that was so fun, and it wasn't immediate, and I knew I couldn't see them but maybe once a year because of the summertime or whatever. But there was so much joy and the anticipation of receiving a letter back from them. And I was like, oh, and I'd run upstairs and go lay on my bed, and like, it was a whole thing, you know, gonna read this letter, and it's awesome. Yeah. And so even though we can't physically be together, I truly see this time as being a blessing in disguise, because we are reawakening things that we haven't done in a long time. And I just sent out a package recently that it felt so good to send a package by mail. And then I wrote out 2 cards and sent those out. And it's like, so there's joy to be had even in this time of uncertainty and scariness and feeling like we're kind of alone, you know? There's still joy that we can find. So that's what I got to say about that.
Absolutely. So much joy, and some of the like simplest things too, right? So I think that's super cool. Relatives, if you all have any like ways that you're staying connected, we'd love to hear about them.
Yes.
I think that'd be super, super awesome to hear how you all are staying connected if you are.
Yeah.
And you know, what I want to touch on in terms of just this section that you read is the post-traumatic growth, right? And being able,
Mhm.
so it says, what does it say? Grant H. Brenner writes in a recent issue of Psychology Today that social media may actually be increasing our ability to tolerate uncertainty and isolation, thus facilitating post-traumatic growth. So with my basic kind of understanding of post-traumatic growth, as I'm still learning, right, is this idea that in areas of uncertainty, that there are things that we can gravitate towards, right, that can help us get through those tough times.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
through that, it builds this resiliency within us, right? So that's kind of my basic understanding of post-traumatic growth. So I just kind of want to touch on that, because some of us may not, you know, be unsure of what that is. So just want to highlight that. But again, yeah, definitely so important, especially during this time, to really get creative with like being able to stay connected and with others and things like that. For me,
Mhm.
I've been recently, my little brother who just turned 10, we would FaceTime and we watched Harry Potter. So that was just super cool just to do. And I didn't even think about that, right? But he just like turned the video around, and then I was just like, oh, we can just watch Harry Potter. And we just watched Harry Potter for, you know, like an hour or however long the movie is.
Mhm.
So that was just super cool to be a part of. And recently I learned that on Facebook, if you video chat with people, they have like a section that you can watch movies with people, which I had no idea, but it's like an
Oh.
option. So that's a thing. If you video chat through Facebook, they have an option where you can what you can like watch YouTube videos or watch the movies that they have within the link. They had like Hunger Games and other movies. So I'm like, oh, that's super cool. So there's definitely a lot of a new and creative ways to connect with our relatives and loved ones. So
Yep,
again, if relatives, you all have cool ways that you're connecting with others, we would definitely love to hear them.
Yep, so I do see a few comments. I will read them.
awesome.
So Alex Wolf said for him, he's, being alone and stuck at home has been massively depressing for him.
Mm.
Um, and, it's definitely difficult, especially during this time. But I'm glad that you're here with us and we see you. And thank you so much for even letting us know. We really appreciate that. And just know that we are
Absolutely.
here for you.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that, Alex. That is why we're here. We're here so that we can hold space for each other. We can talk about some self-care. We can destigmatize feeling bad. We
Mhm.
all have days and we all have hard times. Destigmatize what is how people think about mental health. We all struggle. We have all struggled at some point in time in our life. So thank you for sharing that. The fact that you're able to open up with us is going to be so healing for somebody else. So healing. And it's healing for you.
Mhm.
So that's beautiful.
Yeah, and then Jessica said, my grandfather and I have a kind of routine where he calls me, and if I can't pick up the call at the moment, I just return his call when I have the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Jessica. So glad you're here with us. Jessica is one of our amazing and beautiful staff members. So she is an advocacy team and she does advocacy work. She is our bilingual advocate and she is so she is like organizing us like nobody's business. She is getting us together. Loving it. Loving it. So thank you, Jessica. And I thought I saw a comment. I actually clicked over to see Facebook and I saw that Patricia, Pat had commented too, and I know that she lost someone. Pat, we are sending our condolences to you and to your friends and family. Thank you for sharing that with us. We're sending you lots of love. So thank you.
And then Gwen said that when the gym closed, her and her sister from Delaware, started FaceTiming and working out together, which is awesome.
Oh, that's cool.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
Would have never thought of that.
Yeah.
Right?
At all.
You'd be there like, what's going on?
Right, yeah.
That's awesome.
That's
I love
super
it.
cool.
That is. Oh my gosh. That means, well, I don't exercise like that, but I think all of our gyms are closed around by us. But walking, I could see that being fun because I like to walk and that would be kind of cool to like FaceTime with someone and have them go for a walk at the same time. Yeah. And just like you could tell each other where you are and what you're seeing, what kind of nature are you seeing and things like that. That'd be really neat.
And Gwen said that it wasn't always pretty.
Like I don't know if I'm coordinated enough. So like, what if you're like running on the treadmill and then you're just like, and I could see myself like fall, try to hold a phone. I don't know. I might be all over the place. That's awesome though. I really love that idea. That's really great.
And then Alex said that one thing he tries to do is call his grandpa in Canada every day.
That's awesome. That's wonderful. That's really wonderful. I love that. Call in grandpa. That's great.
Just reaching out, especially during this time. Like I've noticed myself reaching out to family members who I haven't communicated with for such a long time.
Yeah.
It just gives you that time to really reflect and just be grateful and thankful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I definitely see that family members contacting each other more often on social media, maybe writing a little bit more than just what we normally would do. Maybe there's more intention into the messages that we're sending to one another. I think this has been a major time of reflection that we all needed, you know? Like life goes so fast and we are living in a moment where everything is so instantaneous that I think it was time to reset, hit the reset button. Let's slow down, slow
Yeah.
down. Yeah, I really do. I think that was so needed. And John, if you don't mind reading that next section, because this one's kind of connected to what we're starting to talk about with slowing down.
Okay. Yep, so the next part talks about take it a day at a time. Don't panic. Try seeing anxiety as a contagious virus of its own that can undermine your emotional health and the health of the systems that you're operating in. Take responsibility for your own state of calm.
Oh, I like that. I like that. I'm thinking right now, it causes me to think about how we become that which we think about. We become that which we surround ourselves with. So the kind of being stuck in just thinking about, let's say we were feeling anxious, and if that's all I was thinking about, I'm sort of just reinforcing that I'm anxious and reinforcing that and staying there versus maybe finding something else to think about in the moment, or finding a way to be grateful, which over time we know literally changes the way our brain starts to see things. Anxiety. Okay, so thinking of it as something that's contagious, like, ooh, I want to stay away from there, so I'm going to find these things over here that are like in the light and love, you know? I mean, it might not work for everybody, but I think I definitely try to do that.
And sometimes it's like what they said about you try seeing it and just recognizing it and figuring things out, like what you mentioned about, like, let me go and do something else to kind of distract myself so that way I don't think about it or have to deal with it. And again, relatives, the journey can be very difficult, and that's why we're here. And it doesn't happen overnight. And that's why we're talking about all of these little ways of helping. And again, one may not work for you, but there may be many others that will work for you.
Yeah.
And that's why we're presenting all of these different ways of talking about it and addressing it, because what works for me doesn't work for everyone else.
Yeah. Absolutely. What are you thinking about, Xavier?
I think what's coming up for me is I do like how it says try seeing anxiety as a contagious virus of its own. But yeah, being able to sit with and to notice what comes up for us, right? If we are in those moments of like anxiety, or what does that feel like for us? Like where are we feeling that in our bodies? Like what are we noticing? Like, are we breathing super fast? Like, is our chest beating super fast? Are we just kind of moving really fast, thoughts all over the place, right? So being able to just even pay attention to that can help us kind of take it a day at a time, right? Because it's like we're in those moments, you're giving yourself the permission um to befriend the feelings that you're having, right? Instead of running from them, which is often not really running, but the feelings often just get so, they take control of us, right? And we can't really sit with them, or we can't acknowledge them. So yeah, being able to just kind of in those moments, just notice how we're feeling, notice what's coming up for us. Is our stomach in a knot? And if we notice those things, then saying, okay, what's the next step? Do I need a glass of water? Do I need some fresh air? Do I need to step outside for a minute and just hug a tree if that's something you do? Do I need to just it is cold though, so I don't know how the cold might wake
You
you up.
might need
So
to wrap up
right,
in a
you might
few
need to wrap
layers.
up. But even if it might be that, like, you need to step outside in the cold weather, just kind of, ooh, okay, I'm awake, I'm here, like, what's going
Yeah.
on? I'm back, right? So just being able to pay attention to those things, so that you can begin to take back ownership over, your state of calm, your being. So
Mhm.
that's what's coming up for me when I think about this, taking it a day at a time, and the anxiety and the panic and things like that, is being able to pay attention to our bodies and where we're feeling these things, so that we can allow ourselves and give ourselves permissions to take it a day at a time, right? Because it's super hard to say, yeah, I'm gonna, take it a day at a time, but the feelings come up, and yeah, we have to befriend them and sit with them, have tea with them, have lunch, and then
Mm.
and then
I love that.
then just let them walk away when after a while, right? So yeah.
I love that.
Mhm.
Welcoming them into your space. Hi, friend. Hi, anxiety. I
Yes.
see you're back again. Okay. So we're going to hang out for a little while. I love that. Thank you, Xavier. Thank you.
And then I just wanted to share very
Yeah.
quickly. Patricia mentioned a lot of great ideas.
Oh,
She mentioned about Malia's R&R in the morning,
yes.
the
Yes.
stretching and the deep breathing and stuff like that at 8 a.m. Monday through Friday, which is
Absolutely.
awesome. And then
Love
also
it.
eating healthier can be a good way to reduce depression. And
Yeah.
also daily gratitude journaling.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Absolutely. Thank you, Pat. Miigwech. Pat, you were so wonderful. And thank you for bringing Malia into this space, because you are right. Monday through Friday, Malia has R&R. She goes live on Facebook, and she does such amazing self-care practices every day. And she includes her culture. She encourages you to bring your culture into this space. And just like with any of our services, what sits with you, what resonates with you? Culture is a big piece of our healing. We won't be able to tell you how to do your culture, but whatever that is for you. For me, it's my eagle feather. It's me smudging. It's me being able to be in nature, to connect to the land. That's important for me. For all of you, there's going to be something maybe a little bit different. Just think about that for a moment, because that's a big piece of our healing. And as we're feeling stressed, or we're feeling overwhelmed, or we're feeling anxious, we find a way to connect ourselves to those pieces that are important to us. And you will find that you start to see things a little differently, that maybe those hard times don't last as long. Maybe you don't feel worried as much. It does matter. It's a part of bringing balance to ourselves. It's a part of balance. And you know what I would love to do right now, since we're almost to 10 after 6? Xavier, how are you feeling with your gifts? Because here's the thing, each week we're going to meet relatives, we're going to come together. And the last couple weeks, I closed us out with a song, but I don't want to be the only one that's closing us out. We all have beautiful gifts. And so here's what we're going to do. Every week, one of our facilitators will close out with one of their gifts, what they have been gifted with. and they know what their gifts are, and it'll be up to them to decide how do they want to close us out for the week. And then what we love to encourage you relatives is to share with us, what are your gifts? What are you really good at? What are you proud of that you do on a regular basis? And then if you wouldn't mind sharing that with us so that we could speak about that gift that you have right here as we join together for emotional sobriety for Facebook Live. Because we really believe that we should be sharing about each other's gifts, lifting one another up, supporting each other. That's a part of this healing journey. And so now I'm gonna pass the baton over to Xavier so that Xavier can wrap us up however he wants to wrap us up.
Awesome. Thank you, Jamie.
You're welcome.
So yes, today is my day to bring in my gifts into this space. And you know, it's so important, relatives, that we take the time to sit with and acknowledge the gifts that we have, right? Because the gifts that we have, they were given to us for a reason. They can help us in so many different ways, and oftentimes, due to our life experiences, the gifts that we have can become blurred. We can doubt them, and all of that is normal. It's totally normal, right? I've done it myself multiple times, and I'm continuing to learn to lean into my gifts and to trust them, and let them guide me, right? So when Jamie was like, "Oh, we'll be doing this," I was like, "No, we're not." But ultimately, right there, again, the gifts that I have, right, I know serve a purpose. Not sure what that is, but I know I have them, right? And to be able to bring them into this space is such an honor. So for me, my background, again, I am Bahamian American, so I have family in the Bahamas. Lived there when I was younger. So that's kind of my roots. And growing up, we're very spiritual family and things like that. And throughout my own personal journey, I've gravitated towards spiritual aspects that have really just helped me, right, deal with some of the things that have been hard to deal with. Being from Florida, not being around family, like it's been hard for me. I've dealt with my own struggles with substance use and using for the sake of, numbing pain, using for the sake of, feeling lonely, feeling hopeless, right? So, in that, and making the choice to, better myself, I've gravitated towards a few different spiritual aspects, and one of them being card readings. So doing oracle card readings. So I brought my deck of cards. So I have this one, this is Starseed Oracle cards, and then I also have another deck of cards. And I know culturally, in many different cultures, oracle cards are used as a way just to help us connect with our spirits, to help us in terms of spiritual guidance, right? So they can be used if you have certain questions, right? And you're like, I need a little bit of guidance. And it's just used as a way to really connect ourselves spiritually, connect back to our spirits, help ground us, help us really reflect on aspects of our lives that we may have the answers to, but we're still struggling with trusting and leaning into it. For me, I found this to be very helpful, and I found that as I continue to utilize this for myself, that I'm now in a space where it's like, I've been so hesitant and so like nervous, right? And again, like I said, our gifts, we get them for a reason, and eventually doors start to open where you're asked to share things, and you may have an inclination, or it may pop up in your head, and you're like, oh, like for me, this was something that came to me right away when Jamie was like, hey, what are your gifts and what do you want to bring? And when it came to me, I was like, I don't want to bring this, right? So I'm scared, right? So this is me, you know, being real, being open, being honest, right? To share our gifts is so can be so scary. But ultimately ultimately to lean into it, to trust it, can be so powerful. So today I just want to do I'll do an oracle pull for us today, because typically I do one on other platforms. I do a weekly one, but for this week I didn't do one, and I typically do it every Monday. So I didn't do one this week, so I feel pulled and compelled to do one today for you all. So so what we're gonna do is just everyone, we're gonna take some deep breaths. So position yourself, get in a comfortable position, right? And close your eyes, keep them open, totally up to you. And I want you to put your left hand on your heart, and then put the right hand over it, right? And then just take a few deep breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth. And relatives, as you do this, I want you all to just send your thoughts, you know, towards me. Send those thoughts towards me as you continue to just breathe in and out for a few more breaths. And while you do that, I'll just shuffle these cards and send thanks to the Creator, our ancestors. And then relatives, whenever you feel ready, you can bring yourself back to this space. Open your eyes, stretch it out a little bit. So I'm just gonna thank the Creator, our ancestors, just for revealing to me, to you all, what it is that you all need to know for today, December 4th. So the card that popped up, if you can see it, it says wise one. So it says grow within your current situation. So the way oracle readings work, right, is that you look at it, and whatever information comes to you intuitively, you just kind of just give that information, right? And we all have this gift. So as I look at this, what's coming up for me is that relatives, if you find yourself in a difficult situation right now, understand and trust that that if you turn your gaze within, that if you look inwards, right, that there's been some growth, that you've allowed yourself to grow in this situation, right? That this situation won't last forever, right? So allow yourself to just really go within, to contemplate, to reflect, and allow information and previous knowledge and experiences to help guide you through whatever it is that you're experiencing, whether it be a difficult conversation that you have to have with someone, whether it be something going on at work, or with your kids, anything like that, right? Whatever it may be. And just trust that you have wisdom and you have knowledge to help guide you through whatever it may be. So that's what came for me. And there's also kind of a guidebook that I'll read what it says, right? And it'll give us a little bit more foundational pieces. So give me a quick second. Okay, so it says, the message: knuckle down, be reliable and committed. Be open to wisdom and insight from your elders. The wise one represents the wisest aspects of the goddess, the crone. In paganism and modern Wicca, the crone is the fiercest, most psychic, and most aware aspect of the goddess because she has been through many of life's challenges and overcame many setbacks. On this card, the raven in her hands represents the capacity to overcome the darker times and be reborn again and again. So she helps you to tap into wisdom to overcome whatever life throws at you. Wisdom being the information stored in your soul rather than knowledge acquired in this lifetime, and to learn from the experience of your elders. The wisdom of the wise one is based on something that the younger generation is often lacking: commitment and reliability. When this card appears, you are being guided to continue working on your growth and expansion within your current situation. Be committed to your tasks and projects. It can be very easy to get bored or overwhelmed, but persevere. You are being reminded of how it feels to be let down and experience unreliability, and that is not who you were born to be. So keep working on what you're working on because it's going to be extremely beneficial for you in the long run. So
That's amazing.
That's my gift to you all today, relatives. And thank you for allowing me to bring that and share that with you all. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Xavier Chimigwech, for sharing with us and being vulnerable with us and sharing one of your gifts, because I know you have many. I know that. And relatives, we are so glad that you came here today and spent some time on your Friday to wrap up the week. Wishing you all so much love. John, do you have any last words that you'd like to say before we close?
Yeah, I just want to thank everyone for joining us every week for the last like 2-3 weeks. So we really appreciate that and sharing your knowledge with us, because again, we're learning as well and we're healing as well. And everyone else who is here with us in the comment section and everyone who's on live, everyone can benefit from you sharing your knowledge. So I just really appreciate that. And then just wanted to read a few comments. Gwen said that she loved that, Xavier.
Yay!
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then Drew said that she's smiling. This really spoke to me. Nailed it, Xavier. Yeah. And then Lance said that that was very awesome.
Thank you all so much. Thank you. Thank you again for letting me bring that into this space. And again, take what sits with you and, leave what doesn't, right? And just allow it to be what it needs to be for you. So thank you all again for that.
Yeah, and Jessica said thank you as well. Thank you, Xavier.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm so glad that you shared with us today, Xavier. There was a lot of stuff that popped up and is just like swirling around in my spirit right now. So thank you. Thank you. Chimigwech. Relatives, we'll be back next week, Friday. We will be back at 4 o'clock regular time next week. And thank you for being patient with us and flexible with us, as today we had to rearrange our schedule a little bit, but we'll be back at 4 next week. So have a beautiful weekend. Sending you lots of love, lots of love. Gigawabaman.
See you all.